Welcome on MGSS YouTube channel. I'm Navkan Misra with you to discuss chapter 11 and hope you have to enjoy this session. In this session, I will discuss parallelogram and their properties. My dear students, in the last video you have just learned about the quadrilateral, and you know very well about quadrilateral, because quadrilateral, if A, B, C and D are quadrilateral, then you know very well that quadrilateral are of different types. One of them is parallelogram. Actually, parallelogram is a type of quadrilateral whose pair of opposite sides are parallel. And you know that how many pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are possible. I have already taught in previous video that ABCD, when this is quadrilateral, then non-adjacent sides are known as opposite sides, and two pair of opposite sides are possible in the case of quadrilateral. And you can just see that AB and CD. AB and CD is one pair, and another pair you can just write AD and BC. Actually, two pair of opposite sides are possible, AB and CD and AD and BC. Actually, different quadrilaterals are of different types, and if these opposite sides, if AB is parallel to CD and AD is parallel to BC, such type of quadrilateral is known as parallelogram. And you can just see that if AB is parallel to CD and AD is parallel to BC, in such case this quadrilateral is known as parallelogram. So definition of the parallelogram is that such type of the quadrilateral whose opposite sides are parallel, or the two pair of or both pair of opposite sides are parallel, is known as parallelogram. And several characteristics of parallelograms are, if you study about the parallelogram, then you must know that first one is opposite sides are parallel, and if any quadrilateral whose opposite sides are parallel, then they must equal. So regarding the characteristic of the parallelogram, suppose that PQRS is a parallelogram, then you know that by the definition of parallelogram, PQ is parallel to RS and PS is parallel to QR. And second characteristic, you have to just keep in mind that PQ is equal to RS and PS is equal to QR or RQ. And you have to learn this is the first one, this is the second characteristic of the parallelogram, because opposite sides of parallelograms are equal. The third characteristic that you have to memorize, that opposite angles, you know very well that non-adjacent angles are known as opposite angles. So you have to just memorize that angle P is equal to angle R, because P and R are non-adjacent or opposite angles. Simply you can say that. So angle P is equal to angle R, and second one, angle Q is equal to angle S. Actually, this angle is equal to this angle. So three different characteristics you have just memorized. First one, that opposite sides are parallel, PQ is parallel to SR, and second one, PS is parallel to RQ, my dear. Second characteristic of the parallelogram was opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are equal, and this is why you can just write down that PQ is equal to SR, and also PS is equal to RQ. Third characteristic, you have just study opposite angles are equal. Angle P is equal to angle R, and angle Q is equal to angle S. So opposite angles are also equal. The fourth characteristics that you have to just memorize is that it is related to diagonals. When you draw the diagonals, actually you know very well that the diagonals, the line segment which joins the opposite vertices or non-adjacent vertices are known as diagonals. And how many diagonals in a quadrilateral are possible? You know very well that two diagonals are possible. In this figure, AC and BD are two diagonals. In this case, PR and SQ are two diagonals, which is possible in this case of parallelogram. And there is a fourth relation is characteristics are related to diagonals. Actually, diagonal bisect the angles. You know that when you draw a diagonal PR, then this angle PR actually bisect into two equal parts. Bisect. This word is related to bisect. Bi means two, and sect means cut. Actually, when any figure has been, or any angle or any line segment has been cut into two equal parts, then it is known as bisect. Actually, this is bisect because it has been divided into two equal parts. So when you draw the diagonal PR, then this diagonal PR divides P into two equal parts. Actually 1, 2, 3 and 4. And fourth characteristic that you can just mention that diagonal PR bisects angle P and angle R, and this is why angle 1 is equal to angle 2 and angle 3 is equal to angle 4. And similarly for the another diagonal, for SQ you can write down that 5 is equal to 6 and 7 is equal to 8, because SQ also divides these two angles S and Q into two equal parts, and this is why angle 5 due to diagonal SQ, you may write down that angle 5 is equal to angle 6 and angle 7 is equal to angle 8. So these four characteristics you have to memorize. And one more characteristics that you can just study. Suppose that it is P, Q, R, S. Then last properties, actually fifth properties that you have to just memorize, that diagonal not only bisect the opposite angles but also bisect itself. Bisect itself means actually you know that two diagonals, here two diagonals are, first one is PR and second one is SQ, and both the diagonals actually intersect at O. So not only intersect, actually bisect it. Bisect means actually it divides into two equal parts, and this is why you can just write that the fifth characteristic is diagonal bisect itself. It means OP is equal to OR and OS is equal to OQ. My dear students, last one, you have to just recap all definition and properties of parallelogram. What was the definition? The type of quadrilateral whose opposite sides are parallel and equal, then it is known as parallelogram. And you also know that characteristic of the parallelograms are, first one is if it is a parallelogram, then opposite sides must be parallel. Second one, opposite sides must be equal. Third one, opposite angles must be equal. And the last two properties is related to diagonal, that diagonal bisect the opposite angles. And the last one, by diagonal also bisect itself. So hope you have understand parallelogram and their properties very well. In next video I will discuss its verification. Thank you very much.